It was August 2018, and my college friends had talked about this beach trip for months. Just 5 of us escaping finals week to camp on a secluded stretch of Oregon coast. No permits, no neighbors, just us, a bonfire, and the Pacific roaring in the dark. The first night felt like freedom. Danny juggled flaming marshmallows, Priya taught us constellations, and we laughed so hard our ribs ached. But by midday on Saturday, we noticed the SUV. Matte black, windows tinted like obsidian, parked maybe 50 yards up the beach. No plates, no movement, just waiting. We joked it was a drug deal or a creepy photographer, but when it was still there at sunset, engine cold, sand collecting around its tires, Sarah whispered, "That wasn't there yesterday." The pit in my stomach said she was right, that'd be why nightfall. The SUV became our campfire's uninvited guest. Jake threw a beer can at it to test if anyone's inside, but the aluminum just bounced off the bumper with a hollow clunk. No reaction, no shadows behind the glass, just this awful, watchful silence. We tried to ignore it, but the mood had curdled. Jokes turned to nervous theories about serial killers or government stalkers. Around 2 a.m., I caught Danny staring at it through binoculars. "Dude," he breathed, "the driver's seat. It's pushed all the way back, like someone's lying down." A gust of wind hit just then, and for half a second, I swear the brake lights flickered. No keys in the ignition. No sound. Just 2 red eyes in the dark, blinking at us. The next morning, I woke up before dawn with this weird feeling of being watched. My sleeping bag was damp with ocean spray, and when I unzipped the tent, the SUV was still there, but something was different. The driver's side window was now rolled down about an inch, just enough to see darkness inside. I woke Jake up quietly and pointed out. "That window was definitely closed last night," he muttered, his voice still rough with sleep. We decided to walk over together, telling ourselves we were just being paranoid. As we got closer, I noticed the sand around the tires looked disturbed, like someone had been digging. Jake reached out to touch the hood. "Cold," he said, then jumped back when a single drop of water fell from the undercarriage. But it hadn't rained in days. That afternoon, while the others were swimming, I stayed behind to keep an eye on our stuff and the SUV. The moment I was alone, my phone buzzed with a notification, one new voicemail. The call log showed an unknown number had called me at 3:17 a.m. when I'd been asleep. Hands shaking, I played it. At first, just static, then what sounded like waves, but wrong. Too rhythmic, like a machine mimicking the ocean. Underneath, that faint breathing. The message cut off with a sharp click. I deleted it immediately, but when I checked my photos, I found a picture I didn't remember taking, a blurry shot of our tents at night with a tall, thin shadow standing between them. The timestamp said it was taken during the hour we'd all been asleep. I showed the others when they returned, but Priya just turned pale and said, "That's not possible." I was awake reading until 4 a.m. No one was there. By the 3rd day, we were all on edge. The SUV hadn't moved an inch, but now the back window was slightly open too, just a crack like it was breathing. Sarah refused to go near it anymore, and honestly, I didn't blame her. That night around the fire, Danny pointed out something chilling. "Have you noticed? Every morning, it's parked exactly 12 feet closer to our camp." We measured with Jake's hiking poles. He was right. It was creeping toward us, inch by inch, when we weren't looking. Priya started crying then, real quiet-like, and I realized none of us had slept more than a couple hours since we got here. The firelight made the SUV's windshield look like it was grinning at us, all sharp reflections and hungry darkness. I kept imagining something pressing against that glass from inside, waiting for us to look away. The worst part was the silence. No radio static, no engine turns, not even seagulls came near that damn vehicle. Around midnight, Jake said what we were all thinking. We should leave. Now. But when we tried packing up, every flashlight died at once. Not just the batteries, like something swallowed the light whole. Then we heard it, a wet, dragging sound from the direction of the water. Turning as one, we saw the figure again. Closer this time, up to its knees in the surf. Taller than any person should be, its outline wavered like heat haze. Sarah screamed when it lifted one arm, pointing at the SUV. That's when the headlights flared to life, blinding us. And the radio in Jake's car suddenly blasted white noise at full volume. We ran like hell, leaving everything behind, but we didn't stop running until we reached Jake's car, our lungs burning with salt air and panic. The engine roared to life as Jake fumbled with the keys, and I'll never forget the sight in the rearview mirror as we peeled out, the SUV's headlights still blazing, illuminating that skeletal figure now standing motionless beside our abandoned tents. The road out was pitch black, our headlights cutting shaky paths through the coastal fog. No one spoke for miles, until Priya's choked whisper broke the silence. My phone, it's showing I have service, but I can't call out. We checked ours, same thing. Then the radio started picking up whispers between stations. Always the same, 3 words. You left something behind. Danny turned it off with shaking hands. But the whispers kept coming from Jake's dashboard GPS speaker instead, that we drove straight to the 24-hour diner in town, the kind of fluorescent-lit sanctuary that never closes. The waitress took one look at our faces and brought coffee without asking. That's when we discovered the photos, or rather, what had replaced them. Every picture we'd taken that weekend now showed just variations of the same image. The SUV at different angles, always with that same dark slit of an open window. But in the newest ones, taken during our frantic escape, there was something new, a pale hand visible in the driver's side window, fingers curled like it was waving goodbye. The real kicker? My cloud storage showed these altered photos had been uploaded at exactly 3:17 a.m. each night we camped. Sarah nearly dropped her phone when she realized. That's when we all woke up feeling watched. The diner's lights flickered then, and we all saw it. Outside in the parking lot, a familiar black shape under the sodium lights. Back in my apartment days later, I thought we were safe until I noticed the sand. Fine grains kept appearing in my sheets, my shoes, even clinging to my laptop keyboard. I'd sweep it away, but by morning, there'd always be more. Then the voicemail started, always at 3:17 a.m., always that same staticky ocean sound with something moving beneath it. One night, half asleep, I played the latest message and heard my own voice whispering back. Why did you run? We were just starting to have fun. I nearly smashed my phone. The next morning, Jake called. He'd found footprints leading from a shower drain, salt water still pooling on the tiles. Neither of us said what we were thinking. It followed us home. That evening, my doorbell camera triggered at sunset. The footage showed nothing but 12 seconds of distorted audio, wet footsteps on concrete, and a car, engine idling, just out of frame that we met at Sarah's place last week. All 5 of us comparing notes like survivors of some war no one else believed in. Priya had burns on her forearm in the shape of fingers. I woke up and my campfire tattoo was blistering, she said, voice hollow. Danny's Fitbit now logged midnight walks he never took, always ending at the beach near his house. Then Sarah showed us her laptop, a Word document we'd never seen, titled Static Beach Rules. The file creation date was the night we left. It contained one line, "Don't look at the windows when it rains." As if on cue, rain began pattering against the glass, and we all saw it. Reflected in the TV screen, warped but unmistakable, a black SUV parked across the street, wipers moving slowly though the vehicle wasn't running. The headlights flicked on. Jake whispered, "It's learning where we live." Outside, the rain turned to static on the pavement that we tried everything, priests, psychics, even a cybersecurity expert, to purge our devices. Nothing worked. The SUV kept appearing in the backgrounds of our photos, always slightly closer each time. Then last night, I woke to the smell of salt water and campfire smoke in my apartment. My phone was recording video on its own, 3 minutes and 17 seconds of my sleeping face, the camera occasionally jerking toward the window where something tall and thin was reflected in the glass. When I checked the metadata, the GPS coordinates matched our old campsite, but the timestamp was for next weekend. That's when I understood we never really left Static Beach. We're still there, trapped in some loop where the tide never goes out and that thing in the SUV keeps watching, learning, waiting for us to make one wrong move. I can feel it even now. As I type this, the back of my neck prickling like someone's reading over my shoulder. This morning, I found a single blackened marshmallow on my kitchen counter. No note, no explanation. Just that charred lump of sugar staring at me like a dead eye. I'm done fighting it. The others have stopped responding to messages, and part of me doesn't want to know why. If you're reading this, do me one favor. Check your rearview mirror extra carefully next time you're on a deserted beach road. And if your radio suddenly picks up static near the water, run. Don't look back. Don't wonder why your phone just took a picture by itself. Most importantly, never, ever go camping near Static Beach. Because it's not the place that's haunted. It's whatever rides in that black SUV. And I think it's collecting something. Maybe souls, maybe memories, or maybe just new friends who don't know how to listen when the ocean whispers wrong. My name is Daniel, and last summer, my wife Laura, our two kids, Sophie, 8, and Liam, 5, and I rented a beach house for what was supposed to be a peaceful weekend getaway. The place was advertised as secluded paradise, a stretch of untouched shoreline about 2 hours from the nearest town. No crowds, no noise, just us and the ocean. The first day was perfect. Warm sun, gentle waves, and that salty breeze that makes you feel like you've left all your stress behind. We built sandcastles, collected shells, and laughed as Liam chased seagulls. But by the second morning, I noticed something off. The tide line looked wrong. The wet sand stretched further up the beach than it had the day before, almost like the ocean had taken a bigger bite out of the shore overnight. I mentioned it to Laura, but she shrugged it off. "Tides change, babe," she said. I wanted to believe her. By midday, the strangeness became undeniable. We'd left our towels in a cooler near a jagged rock formation, our makeshift spot, but when we returned from a walk, the rock was closer to the house. Not by a little, by yards. The kids didn't notice, but Laura's smile faltered. "That's weird, right?" she whispered. I measured it with my steps, 15 paces from the rock to our porch the first day. Now, 10. The sand itself seemed drier, too, like the water had receded far faster than any tide should. That's when I saw the footprints. Not ours, smaller, barefoot, leading from the ocean toward our house. But the nearest neighbors were miles away. My skin prickled. Something was watching us. And the beach was disappearing that we decided to pack up and leave early, just in case. But when I tried to start the car, the engine wouldn't turn over. No warning lights, no weird sounds, just dead. Laura's phone had no signal, and mine showed one bar that flickered like a dying candle. I told the kids we were playing a camping game as I walked toward the road for help, but the path we'd driven in on was gone. Not overgrown, not hidden gone. In its place was just more rocky coastline, stretching farther than I remembered. The trees looked wrong too, thin and twisted, like they'd been bleached by salt and wind for decades. My chest tightened when I realized the house was the only man-made thing left. No telephone poles, no distant rooftops, just us and that damned shrinking beach. That night, the waves sounded hungry, not the usual rhythmic crashing, but a slow, scraping drag, like the ocean was licking its lips. Sophie woke us up screaming. She swore something had tapped on her window. I grabbed a flashlight and ran outside, but there were only those same small footprints, now circling the house. Then Liam, wide-eyed, whispered, "Daddy, why is the water black?" I shone the light toward the shore. The waves weren't breaking anymore. They just pulsed thick and dark like oil, creeping up the sand in sluggish ribbons. And the smell, rotting seaweed and something metallic like old blood. Laura pulled the kids inside and locked the doors. I stood there, staring at the tide line inching closer, realizing with cold certainty, we weren't just trapped. We were being erased. By morning, the house itself felt different, like the walls were breathing. The air was thick and damp, and every surface had a fine layer of grit, as if the beach was slowly turning to dust around us. Laura tried to stay calm for the kids, but her hands shook as she packed our bags. "We'll walk along the rocks until we find help," she said, but her voice wavered. I knew she didn't believe it. The moment we stepped outside, the wind hit us, a low, moaning sound that didn't sound natural. Liam clutched my leg, and Sophie pointed silently at the shoreline. The ocean had pulled back even farther, leaving behind a stretch of wet sand littered with things. Broken shells, yes, but also scraps of fabric, a single child's shoe, and, God help me, a wristwatch, its face cracked but still ticking. None of it had been there before. We walked for hours, but the landscape never changed. The same jagged rocks, the same sickly pale grass, the same house always visible in the distance, no matter how far we went. It was like we were stuck in a loop. Then Laura froze. "Daniel," she whispered, "do you hear that?" At first, there was nothing. Then, faint but unmistakable, a child's laughter coming from the direction of the water. Not Sophie or Liam, someone else. My blood turned to ice. The kids heard it too. Liam started crying, and Sophie buried her face in Laura's shirt. That's when I saw them. Figures far down the beach, silhouetted against the horizon. Too tall to be human, too still to be alive. Just watching. The laughter came again, closer this time. We barely made it back to the house before sunset. Just as the tide began rushing in faster than before, the black waves swallowing the last strips of sand. Laura barricaded the doors while I checked the windows, my pulse hammering in my throat. That's when the scratching started. At first, it was just a faint skittering noise beneath the floorboards. Then came a knocks, 3 slow, deliberate raps on the front door like someone testing if we'd answer. Sophie screamed when the porch light flickered, revealing a warped shadow stretching across the deck. No body, just a stain of darkness, twitching like a bug pinned to glass. Liam kept repeating, "It's not real, it's not real," but the smell told the truth, salt and decay, seeping through the cracks that I grabbed the fireplace poker and yanked open the door, ready to swing at whatever was out there. Nothing, just an empty deck, and the beach, now completely gone. The ocean lapped against the foundation, its water thick and syrupy. Then I saw them, dozens of those same small footprints, pressed into the wood as if something had circled the house 100 times. A wet chuckle echoed from the rocks nearby. Not human, not animal, something that mimicked both but got the rhythm wrong. Laura pulled me back inside, her nails digging into my arm. "We can't stay here," she breathed. But the roads were still gone, the phone's dead. And outside, the water kept rising. The power went out just after midnight, plunging us into a darkness so thick I could barely see my own hands. The kids huddled between us in bed, their small bodies trembling under the blankets. That's when the whispers started, hissing, wet voices just outside the window, murmuring words that almost sounded like names. Sophie, Liam. Laura clamped a hand over Liam's mouth to stifle his sobs. My throat locked when I realized the voices were coming from multiple directions now, circling us. Then came the sound of something heavy dragging itself up the porch steps. The doorknob rattled, not like someone testing it, like something learning how it worked. I pressed my back against the door, feeling it vibrate with each thud. The wood groaned, and I don't know what made me do it, but I screamed at the thing to leave us alone. Just raw, stupid rage. The noises stopped. For one breathless second, there was silence. Then the house shuddered, like something massive had brushed against it underwater. The windows exploded inward, showering us with glass as a gust of frigid, salt-rot air blasted through the room. Laura yanked the kids toward the closet, but it was too late. The front door splintered open, and the darkness poured in. Not just shadows, something solid, a swirling mass of glistening black strands that reeked of low tide and copper. It didn't have eyes, but I felt it see us that we ran for the back door, but the floorboards had turned spongy, sucking at our feet like wet sand. Liam tripped, and Laura lunged for him just as one of those tendrils wrapped around her ankle. Her scream was cut short when it yanked her off her feet, dragging her toward the thing in the doorway. I grabbed a broken chair leg and stabbed at it. The second it made contact, the wood dissolved, eaten away in seconds. Sophie was shrieking, clutching my neck so tight I could barely breathe. Then, a miracle, a sliver of moonlight broke through the clouds, hitting the creature. It recoiled, hissing, and for half a second, I saw its true shape, a tangle of limbs and seaweed and things too wrong to name that I don't remember how we got out. Just sprinting through the night, the kids in my arms, until my legs gave out on a stretch of gravel that hadn't been there before. A trucker found us at dawn, half dead on the side of a rural highway. The cops searched for the beach house for weeks. Nothing. No debris, no records of the rental, just an overgrown cliff where the shoreline should have been. Laura's gone. The official report says missing, but I know the truth. Sometimes, when I'm near the ocean, I hear wet laughter on the wind. And Liam, he won't go near sand anymore. He says it's because he's scared. But last week, I caught him whispering to Sophie, "It's growing back." My girlfriend Jess and I just want a quiet weekend away. No stress, no city noise, just the two of us in the ocean. We found this old beach house listed online for dirt cheap, which should have been the first red flag. The photos were grainy, like they'd been taken years ago, but the description promised cozy, vintage charm. When we pulled up, the place looked weathered. The paint was peeling, the porch sagged a little, and the air smelled like salt and mildew. Jess joked that it had character, but I caught her glancing at the windows like she expected someone to be watching. Still, we shrugged it off. It was just an old house, right? The first night, we fell asleep to the sound of waves, but around 3 a.m., I jerked awake to something scratching at the ceiling, like long nails dragging across wood. Jess heard it too. We lay there frozen, listening as it moved from one side of the room to the other, then stopped. I grabbed my phone flashlight and checked upstairs, but the rooms were empty. The air up there was thick, like it hadn't been breathed in years. Jess insisted it was just the house settling, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been listening to us from the dark. The next morning, things got weirder. Jess was making coffee when she called me over, her voice tight. Inside the kitchen cabinet, tucked behind mismatched mugs, was a child's hair ribbon, faded pink, crusted with something dark. It looked like it had been there for years, but when I touched it, the fabric was slightly damp like it had just been handled. My stomach turned. We tore through the rest of the house, and that's when we found more. A half-burned candle in the bedroom closet, its wax still soft, and a pair of muddy men's work boots by the back door, soles caked with fresh sand. Jess kept saying, "This isn't funny," like someone was playing a prank on us. But we were the only ones there. That night, the noises came back, louder. Footsteps paced the hallway upstairs, and at one point, a door slammed so hard the walls shook. I charged up there, heart hammering, but the rooms were empty, the air ice cold. Then I noticed it. The closet door we'd checked earlier was wide open, and inside, the candle was lit. The flame didn't flicker, just burned straight up, unnatural. I bolted downstairs, grabbed Jess, and said, "We're leaving. Now." She didn't argue. We threw our stuff into bags, not even bothering to fold anything. But when I tried calling the property manager, the number was disconnected. His email bounced back. It was like the listing had never existed, that we peeled out of the driveway, so fast the tires kicked up gravel, Jess white-knuckling the dashboard. Neither of us spoke until we hit the main road. Then she finally whispered, "Did you see anyone up there?" I lied and said no. But the truth? Right before I ran, I swear I saw a shadow move in the hallway mirror, tall, hunched, like it was watching me from just out of sight. The GPS cut out twice on the drive home, rerouting us toward the beach again before finally letting us escape. Jess slept with all the lights on that night, and I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I Googled the address. My coffee went cold when the first result loaded. A decade-old news article. Couple vanishes from beach rental, no leads. The photo showed our house, its porch sagging the same way. Worse, the couple had reported strange noises before disappearing. My hands shook as I scrolled further. Turns out, the place had been abandoned since then. No property manager, no rentas, just a rotting shell with a lockbox that shouldn't have opened for us. Jess walked in as I slammed my laptop shut. She took one look at my face and said, "We're never talking about this, right?" We haven't. But sometimes, when our apartment creaks at night, I catch her staring at the ceiling, listening. For weeks after, I kept finding grains of sand in our apartment, in the bed, on the bathroom floor, even inside my work shoes. Jess swore she hadn't been to the beach, and I sure as hell hadn't gone back. The final straw came when I opened my dresser drawer and found that same pink hair ribbon neatly folded on top of my socks. It was bone dry now, but there was no mistaking it. I threw it out immediately, but the next day it was back, this time tucked into the pocket of my jacket. That's when I started sleeping with the lights on too. I finally broke our unspoken pact and showed Jess the ribbon. Her face went sheet white. "We need to do something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We drove to a church 3 towns over. Neither of us were religious, but we didn't know where else to go. The old priest listened to our story without interrupting, his expression growing graver by the minute. When we finished, he sighed deeply. "Some places," he said, "aren't meant to be rented." He gave us each a small silver medallion and told us to keep them close at all times. That night was the first peaceful sleep we'd had since the beach house. No sounds, no shadows, no misterioso sangue. But around 3 a.m., I woke up freezing. The bedroom temperature had plummeted. The medallion around my neck was burning hot against my skin. I reached for Jess, only to find her side of the bed empty. That's when I heard the dripping sound coming from our hallway. Slow, methodical drops of water hitting the hardwood floor that I called out for Jess, my voice cracking. No response. The dripping continued. The medallion grew hotter, almost searing my chest. I forced myself out of bed, my breath visible in the frigid air. The hallway was pitch black except for a faint glow from the bathroom. The door was slightly ajar, and through the crack I could see Jess standing motionless, facing the mirror. Her reflection wasn't moving when she did. I rushed forward and yanked open the door. The bathroom was empty. No Jess, no water, just normal room temperature. My medallion cooled instantly. Then I heard the front door open. Jess walked in holding 2 coffees, looking perfectly normal. "Couldn't sleep," she said casually. "Went for an early drive." When I told her what I'd seen, her smile faded. She pulled her medallion from under her shirt. It was blackened and warped, like it had been in a fire, that we moved apartments the next week. The medallions stay with us always, though mine has started to tarnish. Jess doesn't remember anything about that night, but sometimes I catch her staring at mirrors a second too long. The priest warned us that these things have a way of clinging to you, like grains of sand you can never fully brush away. He was right, because last night, as I was falling asleep, I heard it again, that slow, methodical dripping sound. And when I checked, there were wet footprints leading from our front door to the foot of our bed.